Okay, so it's been a minute since I've been on YouTube, and I wanted to do an update because I was supposedly supposed to be doing vlogs of everything that was going on in New York, but it did not happen like that. It was just too much going on, and me moving around so much. It was so hard with my kids to keep track of everywhere that I was going, but I still was visiting churches. After my contract ended in Buffalo, it ended early, which was unfortunate, and it was not part of my plan. The fact that it ended early, I ended up kind of like this was rolling with plan B. So plan B was go to New York City and get a job there. Getting a job is not hard for me. That is not my issue. It's finding a job that's a fit for me and I'm a fit for them. Some jobs I go to and they're like, ma'am, no. And some jobs I go to, I fit and it works. And I'm there usually a couple years. I'm not a type of person that's gonna keep hopping from job to job unless I can't find a good fit where the pay is good and I get along with the staff. Working in the medical field, it's been very weird since 2020. Anybody could tell you pre-2020, a lot of people retired, a lot of people left the medical field and went into different fields or their previous field because the energy changed in the medical field since COVID. I'm not going into details. Excuse me. So with that, I'm supposed to be doing a story time on how I lost my job in 2 weeks. Not 4, 2. In 2 weeks in New York City, and I'm back in Georgia. So I went up there and I felt led to go up there because we had a lot of issues here and we were trying to make a better solution to what our issues were over here in Georgia. And so I felt led and me and my family went. Nobody else wanted to go. We said, okay, for 2 months in the summer, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to the city. I'm gonna end up getting a place in the city and a job in the city. Like, I'm not coming back to Georgia. So we said 2 months and we're gonna do our summer over there and we'll be out. So 2 months went by, 1.5 months went by. My contract ended earlier than it was supposed to. I had another month and a half left and it didn't happen. So I ended up driving to New York for an interview and I did the interview and I got the job. It was a red flag already because the interview was literally 2 questions. I was like, and then we got kicked out. Somebody came into the room and was like, I got this room reserved, so y'all gonna have to leave after the 2 questions. And it was like, all right, we'll let you know if you have the job. And I'm laughing because I think everything is funny. And I walk out and I was like, I got the job, but this is a big red flag because I got it too easy. I'm supposed to be eating, but I'm gonna just show what I'm eating for dinner tonight. If y'all haven't tried this, I heard the volcano roll dip from Publix is really good. I'm gonna have it with some sushi, roll it up, and I got my little rice. But I'm not gonna talk and eat. I'm gonna just do this little quick story time about how I got fired in 2 weeks. So they told me, okay, we'll call you and let you know if you got a job. A week passed and they tell me I got the job. And I'm still in New York with my kids and we're just like Airbnb in it. I'm not working. I'm trying to take them a few places, show them New York. Like, hey, this is where we're potentially gonna move. And they're like, my oldest is like, I don't wanna move. I don't wanna go live there. I wanna stay at where my friends at, where we've been for the past 4 or 5 years. And I was like, well, sometimes when you need it was for financial reasons. When you need financial help, you do what you gotta do for you and your family. And that was the situation. So we went back to Georgia. I left my kids with my mom for a month and I went back to New York and I was gonna do my work there. And before school started, go get my kids. And when school started, they could start with everyone else in New York. So they stayed with my mom. Their father was with us in Buffalo, but then he ended up having to go to Texas to do work. And so he ended up staying there and I had to give my kids to my mom. Time go by. I waited at my cousin's house because I was at a hotel for a week and it was costing me so much money. And I'm like, I could literally be saving this money to get a place. I'm not working. There's no flow of money coming in right now. And I didn't want to touch, my savings and, tap into those my assets or whatever. And so I stayed at my cousin's house, and it was decent, whatever. She was pretty chill for the most part, but I'm so grateful that she let me stay at her house for those 2 weeks because it let me save money, and I was able to start the job. So first week, everything is weird. I'm like, the energy is weird. These people are a little weird. What's the catch? Like, they trying to make it sound like this is an amazing job, but why y'all constantly hiring? And everybody in the room during orientation was like, oh, this sounds like good. This sounds good, but what's the catch? Like, there's something. We all could sense that there was a reason people kept quitting this job. So we came back from orientation, and me and this African girl, we were sitting next to each other, and she's making jokes, and it's not like we making fun of the lady, but for some reason, the lady who was doing our orientation felt like we were making fun of her. And I was like, no, you're kooky. Like, she was a typical kooky white person. And we was like, yeah, you're kind of funny with the way you move. Like, you're kooky. And so she felt offended. She felt like we was just laughing at her, and I was just like, that's not it. Like, that's not the vibe. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a grown-ass woman, right? And so we doing our thing. I sense a little weirdness from the people we orienting with, because people think they just have stereotypes of me. I just give off mean girl, which I'm not. It take a lot to bring that out of me. So I was just like, whatever. I'm ignoring people in their weird ways, and we going about our day. They fed us. It was pretty cool. And I was chilling. I was like, okay, we finna see what this job is about. So one day we're taking a tour, and I go to meet somebody who on the paperwork, it said she's a manager. I go to meet her, and I'm like, oh, hey, I wanted to meet you. You're the manager. Her name is Kay. And she was like, manager? Who the manager? I ain't no manager. And then the next time I was like, she ain't no manager. And she was like, why would they say I'm a manager? And I'm like, oh, that's a abrupt reaction. But I'm in New York City, so I'm like, whatever. Okay, you're not the manager. I get it. So, moving forward, that was my first time meeting this girl, Kay. I ain't changing nobody's name and number. My page ain't that big. So, next week, this is the second week now, I'm orienting with another therapist. Now, mind you, the person I orient with, she's been a therapist for a long time, but I find out she's been there for a month. I said, you only been here for a month, why I'm not orienting with the other girl? She's like, well, she don't come as much. And so we're stuck with me. And I said, okay, well, you seem like a good therapist. Let's get through it. So we getting through it. Mind you, this is Parker Jewish Institute. This is a skilled nursing facility. When it comes to respiratory, I've worked in a level 1 trauma center. I've worked in multiple traumas. I've worked in good hospitals. I've worked in bad hospitals. I've worked in hospitals where you think I'm smart. I've worked in hospitals where you think I'm stupid. So it just depends on where you are, what, the atmosphere, your first impression. It's a lot of things that contribute to the way people perceive you. And lately, it's been very negative. My experiences in my career has been very negative, and I know that there is a spiritual aspect to that. I started to feel more and more like God does not want me to be in the medical field anymore. Now, as I was working in the medical field, I've encountered a lot of witches, and that's really when my career took off, because I couldn't get into respiratory for at least a year, and I would pray and pray and pray, and God did not show me until I fasted who and what exactly was preventing me from getting into my career. It was a spiritual thing. So when I prayed against that, and then I prayed for strategy, I was able to get in and break into the field. And when I got into the medical field, I also encountered a witch who came in front of me and threatened me to my face. She said, oh, I'm gonna show you where you at. Like, she came in Florida. This is Florida. This is Plantation, Florida. So she came and she said, Mama, you need to join, like she's in Creole. She's telling me, oh yeah, you finna find out where you at. Oh, your name is Fabian Deramo. Like it was a bunch of Haitians working there and they were like, oh, I know you. And I'm like, I don't know you. But they knew me, apparently. And so, witches know you. And that's just the gist of it. So I finally was talking to somebody and I was like, so what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, I knew your grandfather. Your grandfather was a pastor and he didn't play around. Like a lot of people didn't like him because his attitude, Does that mean that when you see me, that means that that's what I am? Just because you knew my grandfather? Anyways, pshaw. So I ended up dealing with those people and they were like trying to bully me and it was stupid. It was very childish and I ended up finding another job and leaving. Then I ended up passing my RRT and working at it for 2 years at a level 1 trauma, which is where they were willing to train me with everything. But then I moved to Georgia and that's when I started traveling. So as a traveler, you don't get trained. They're not there to train you because they know you're there to take your skills to the next place. So there is gatekeeping in the medical field. If you are getting into the medical field, like to be a nurse or a respiratory, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna travel out the gate, just know you're gonna be lucky to find someone that's going to take you under their wing and train you in the things you need to know. Like I don't know nitric, I don't know, there's a few other things like bronchs. I've done them so few. Bronchs, intubations, I haven't done in a long time. Like I'm constantly being pushed to the floors or ICU to patients that are already vented. So it's just an assist. Some places they actually do it. Like art lines, there was a place I was working that I was travel and they do art lines and they was training me how to do it. So I was lucky. I was like, okay, they're willing to train me. Cool. So that's my thing. You just depends on where you work and how long you work there, and a lot of times your salary is based off their budget. If you no longer fit their budget, like you're getting paid too much, you're getting chopped. You're first to go. So anyway, moving forward, I went to I went through that. I went through the spiritual aspect of the medical field. So I've encountered witches, I've encountered people who just don't have the spirit of love and light that we do as Christians, which is why I encourage people to pray on their patients. I've had people say they pray with their patients, but that's been illegal for some time. So I don't do that. Like if somebody told me pray for me, sure, I'll take your name to the Lord. But I'm not gonna sit there in the room and pray with you and risk getting fired. So I could think of plenty of other ways I could get fired. So back to my story. We doing our 1 week training. Like she's talking to me a little bit like I don't know nothing. And I was like, I've been a therapist for a while, so I got this. You know, if you got some tips for me, cool, I'll take them. So she gave me a few tips and I was like, okay, this is pretty easy. I realized early that this job was easy, and then they told me, yeah, it's easy, but we're doing this because we want to open a vent unit. So this is a Jewish place and they have all types of people. So this is a Jewish place and I've only worked for a few Jewish people before and it was never like a terrible experience. I didn't think it would be a bad experience. But my experience wasn't bad because of a Jewish person, so I can't even say it's because of that, but it is the atmosphere that they have over there. Like, if you're a respiratory therapist, I do not encourage you to go to Parker Jewish Institute because it's a skilled nursing facility, but they were running like a military. And I'm gonna tell you why. When we were in orientation the week before, the person who was orienting us, she was like, okay, you have to wear all white shoes. Everybody gotta wear white shoes. And you can't wear no Crocs. And she was trying to say like, I've seen the CEO walk around, see somebody with their shoes and tell them go home. And he'll tell them go home and change, or sometimes he'll tell them go home, you're fired. And I was just like, that's kind of crazy. That's harsh. Like someone's livelihood in this economy. So then while I'm doing my training with this girl, I meet this lady and she tried to be funny. And when I said, oh, I don't really need much training because this is a pretty simple job. This is the basics of respiratory. And she said, well, you're going to have to train for as long as you need to. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever, if that's what you want me to do. Yeah, because I have a problem with leadership, right? But I don't I don't know when that happened. Like you got to meet people and give them a clean slate. Don't go based off of rumors. Don't go based off gossip and say, oh yeah, this person is hard to deal with. I'm actually pretty flexible. I actually get along with everybody and chill and mind my business and do what I gotta do. I don't know if it's this, I've seen prettier, I've seen badder. I ain't saying I'm ugly, and I'm not saying this body ain't banging to me, but apparently people see me and it's like something goes off for them to just like assume she's a problem. Why did you? And that's when I ended up going. Let's keep going. So orientating, she's telling me with her, like I go to lunch with some people and they're telling me stories about what's happening. I'm like, maybe they're lying, because there's no way. They told me a story about a boy. There was a code and he was chest x-ray, and then they went to the code. He's there and he don't have his ID, and the CEO's there and he sees him and he's like, you don't have your ID, where's your ID? And the kid doesn't know his ID is in his pocket. And he's like, oh, I think I forgot it. He was like, oh, you don't have an ID, you're fired. Y'all firing people for IDs? Because they forgot their ID? So I was like, okay. When she told me that, I'm real skeptical. So I'm like, maybe they exaggerating, right? And so they told me another story. This is during this lunch, and they're like, there was another girl who started with us because they were within the first month of their working there. They was like, there's a girl who started with us and she ended up getting fired because the patient said she hit her. And the girl said she never touched the lady, but the lady just started screaming, which can happen with a patient, and saying that she got hit, but no one was there to witness. They believed the patient over the girl, and they sent the girl home. And the girl said by the time she got home, the police was waiting on her and filed the police report for elderly abuse. At that point, I was like, oh, so they dangerous over here. So I low-key was believing it, but I was also skeptical. I'm like, are they trying to scare me? Because I know, you know, some people would just like try to scare you away from the job, like trying to be weird or whatever with you. And I'm just like, I came here for a job. I got kids. I don't have time or energy to pay attention to what they're doing. I mean, let me just make sure I'm on my P's and Q's if this is the type of job that it is. And I was like, yeah, people told me New York is strict, but I figured because this is a nursing home, like this isn't a hospital, that I wouldn't have any issues. So we're going fast forward. It's a Thursday and they've been getting slick. Like I noticed the upper, like the DONs or whatever, like they go look for me to find a problem. And the girl who I'm training with, she was like, girl, they looking for you. It's like they looking for you to find a problem with you. And I was like, I don't know why, because I was training with other people and I talked to them and I said, did you finish your paperwork from training? And they like, no. And I said, oh, okay, so why are they coming in on me so hard? They were like, oh, you need to finish your paperwork. We see you didn't finish your paperwork. You need to be in the office sitting with us and doing your paperwork. So I was like, can I do it from a computer that's on the floor, so I could do both? So I could train and knock everything out, multitask. And they was like, no. And I was just like, all right, I see everybody's trying to I felt the energy of people trying to make it hard for me. And so the people I was orienting was being weird too. But then when they noticed that the higher ups was being weird with me, they kind of just like, let me chill off this girl. Because they giving her pressure and we trying to be funny and slick with her. That's kind of effed up, right? Like some people come to get a job to get paid. And that's why I'm doing this story time, because they need to be put out there. I'm going to put their name so that if anybody searches, hey, should I get a job at Parker Jewish Institute? No, so that you know exactly what kind of people these people are. They're nasty. So she has seen, so this is on a Thursday, after they told me this story, after they telling me, no, you guys stay in the office with us. So after that, I had seen, what's it called? I was sitting, it was 2:30, I get off at 3. So I'm sitting down and I'm on my phone and I'm like on the floor. And then so she's walking the floor, which is like a DON or whatever. And she sees me on my phone and she was like, put the phone up. And I was like, mind you, they already giving me this stiff attitude. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, you don't have anything you need to be doing? I'm like, no. And she was like, oh, we'll make a round. Mind you, they don't have a respiratory office. And I've never worked nowhere with no respiratory office. I never heard of respiratory not having a place for them to at least take a break, right? And we got kicked out of the nursing station multiple times because they was not feeling how we was taking up so much space. So this is the atmosphere. So I said, if I had a phone, if I had a office, if we had an office for respiratory, no one would see me on my phone while I'm on my break, because it's 2:30. I didn't say all the 2:30. It's 2:30. It's about to be 3. I'm about to go home. There's no reason for me to be pretending to work, which is pretty much what they wanted me to do, because it was an easy job. It was 7 trachs and oxygen checks and a bunch of oxygen checks that we got done. It is an easy job, but they're hiring because they need to start a vent unit that ain't there yet. They want to make sure they have the staff ready. So good luck with that, with no office. And so after I said that, she got mad and her demeanor changed. Like, she looked like she wanted to look me in the eye and she wanted to test me. And she was like, I said there is no respiratory office. Talking to me like I'm a child. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That attitude is interesting. And so I got up and left. I said, if you want me to go pretend to work, I'll go pretend to work. And I got up and left because I said, everything is done. She said, did you do your charting? Yes. Did you train on your patients? Yes. Did you do your O2 checks? Yes. Where is the person you were training with? And I was like, she went on her break. And then I said, I went on a break already. And so I'm up here waiting. If there's an emergency, that's what respiratory do. Someone asked me, like, what are you doing all day? We're here for an emergency. If something happens, we're supposed to be the first line with the nurses to make sure that everything is going well, so that when paramedics come, they're able to transition and bring that person to the hospital, or the next step of escalation is done with the doctor who tells us what to do, whether we're going to intubate or whatever the situation. We there for emergencies. So I said, yeah, I'm just waiting for 3 o'clock. So I said, if you want me to pretend to go work, I'll go pretend to work. And I walked around. And then I went home. And then I told her, so that Friday, I woke up and I was like, yo, I don't want to go back because they already coming down hard on me for no reason. It's getting weird. They tried to shade me. We had a meeting and they tried to shade me at the meeting. They were just like, oh, if you need anything respiratory, call this person. Like, they trying to make it seem like she's not qualified. She don't know nothing. She's an idiot. And I'm like, why? So when they did that, I went to her that Friday, that next day or whatever. And I was like, I don't need to be babysat. And I don't need you to speak to me like a child. And I asked, and she was like, okay, I understand. I said, yeah, I understand you were mad. I was on my phone, which is understandable. It's just the way you said it. I didn't like that. And I was like, I don't need to be babysat, and I know how to do my job. I was like, why did you hire me as a respiratory therapist if you didn't feel I was qualified for the job? And she was just like, oh, I hired you because I had a good feeling about you. No, you hired me because you wanted to make an example out of me. You wanted to humble me. You wanted to put me in my place. You wanted to make me feel like I needed to be put down low. That's what you hired me for. You hired me to fire me. So anyways, that day there was, so that day I didn't want to go in. There was a meeting with the CEO, a breakfast, and they invited all the new hires, and I went. And I asked the CEO straight up, like, why isn't there an office for respiratory? And he was just like, well, you could ask June. And I said, he pretty much make it short, his long story, why they don't have an office. And I asked June, and she said, there is no office, and I'm just trying to find out why. And he was like, pretty much respiratory is new here, and it's a new thing. Cool. I said, oh, okay. And then I mentioned something about a petition, and he was like, oh, we fire people who bring no petitions. I was like, okay, good luck with that. And so I went over to train with the person I'm training with, and we went to the office to meet the lady who said, I ain't no manager when I went to thing. So she's giving me attitude. She get called into the office by the other lady, the other DON who's acting weird. She get called into the office and she's like, Yay! She called her like she was a dog. And like a dog, she got up and ran. And I was like, oh God, this is the atmosphere. And mind you, the atmosphere when these DONs are around is fear. And it's like, we're mutuals. There was a point you were in my position. There was a point you was in my shoes. Whether you were a respiratory, whatever your position was, you started at the bottom and made your way up. You didn't get there and end up all high and mighty. Just treat me like a peer. That's just me. Treat me like an equal. Don't come around treating me like I'm somebody you could run and you could talk to any kind of way, and it's not gonna happen. And I think in the respiratory field is small. Everybody knows that. She don't really like people talking to her any kind of way. So when they want to trigger me, they try to talk to me any kind of way and see what's gonna happen. Exactly what you think is gonna happen is gonna happen. I'm gonna say, hey, who are you talking to? Take it easy. So the girl comes back and she's like giving me an attitude, and I'm like, she's giving the other girl an attitude too. And the other girl's looking, she's like, yo, what is wrong with her? And I said, I don't know. And she was like, I was like, you work with her more than me. Why you asking me? This is my second week. So she was like, I don't know, but she acting hella weird. And so she was like, so did they teach you how to press the button on a CPAP machine? Mind you, CPAP machines are things people take home. This is the simplest, easiest thing to do. I said, this is the basics of respiratory. This isn't a level 1 trauma. I said, yes, I've been trained. She said, oh, because I wasn't here. I don't know what you've been doing all day. And mind you, I didn't know this girl looked like a cockroach and she was ugly until she started giving me an attitude. Like, I didn't notice how ugly she was until she started to act ugly. And so she was like, and yeah, she peeped. I said something and she was just like, oh, anyways. And then she's being nasty, mind you. We've been there since 7. She just getting there at 10 and she got all the attitude. So then the next thing, I had a piece of paper. She was like, oh, I need to go downstairs and get the paper for all the CPAPs, for the O2 checks. And so I said, oh, I did it already. And I tried to give it to her. She said, oh, I'm not taking that from you. And I was like, oh, she's trying to do something. She's trying to make something. And I was like, okay, if you want to pretend like you want to do a lot of work, you do a lot of work when you come here, go down there and get it. And I balled it up and threw it away. And so I just walked out because I peeped that she was just trying to start something that wasn't there. There's nothing there. So I go to the hallway that's outside of the cubicle office where a bunch of people at, and they just over there, they laughing because they hear, oh, it's like a Filipino there. It's some white people and a Spanish person. We the only 3 black women. So I hear laughing in the background, and I'm like, I already know what time it is. They hear, oh, they hired these black people, and look at how they're acting in the office. So I go to outside, and I hear her like, all right, she's rolling her neck. Oh, I don't know who she thinks she is. She just got here, and she want to give me an attitude, and the other girl was like, I don't know. She just was standing there not saying nothing. And I said, hey, I walked back in, I said, hey, if you want to say something to me, let's clear it up now. Because you're saying I have attitude and I didn't have an attitude with you. You came to me and she gets loud. She started getting rah, nasty. And she's sitting down. And I'm standing at the door at the entrance. And she gets up and she's like, and I'm like, what you finna do? You finna fight me? Like, we in the office. Like, and she's walking towards me. She's like, I'm walking away. I'm being a bigger person. I'm walking away. I'm getting out of there. Da-da-da. You was sitting down over there. You could have stayed sitting down. But instead you chose to get up and act like you thought I was going to be scared of you. No, you just look like a roach. You ain't nothing worth being scared of. You just ugly. Ugly inside and out. So then she goes past me and goes into another room. And I was like, what was that? And the other girl, she's scared because she's seen, I was standing there and the other girl was walking up. And she was like, thinking that she was going to do something. So she was like, hey guys, wait. And so the girl just walks past me and goes into another room because she wasn't really like trying to do nothing for real. She knew she was just trying to create a scene. I feel like it was a setup. So I'm on the way out and I was like, girl, she just mad that she a sucky therapist. Because we peeped that a lot of things that were going on, she's been there for 2 years, they weren't doing well. And I told the other therapist who'd been there for a month, you're making her look bad. I'm just letting you know. If she's giving you an attitude, it's because she feels like you're making her look bad. And if I'm coming around, she may feel like threatened. Her position feels like she's threatened or whatever. So I go about my day, finish what I'm doing, and then I got called into HR. I already know this girl probably told her own side of the story, made up her own thing, because the other lady, the DON, was in on it. The point was to get rid of me. But I didn't think that I would get fired for a discussion. So they asked me to tell the events of what happened. So I'm telling the events of what happened, and the HR lady looking at me like, Like, this is not what they told me, right? So clearly they changed it around. And I've been dealing with this in the medical field for a long time, of people trying to get me backballed, trying to get me out the field, don't like me, and God knows for whatever reason. And I just feel like a lot of times things happen because God is trying to steer you away from something else, to from where you are, to move you to something else. So it rolls off my back. I don't really care. So I was devastated though when they ended up firing me and telling me leave. I just took off the jacket because it got the name on it. They took off the jacket, put it on the floor. I got my shit. The security was following me. I said, "Hey, stay 10 feet away from me, bro," because I don't like when they have security escort black people out like we're an issue or a problem, or like you stole or you're abusive. Back the hell up. I could walk out of a building. So I get my things. I walk out the building, and they ask for the car voucher or whatever that they give you, the permanent one. I threw it out the window so he could collect it. You don't get no respect from me when you part of a setup to get somebody fired. This is my livelihood. My car was here, my clothes was here, my kids, I was enrolling them in school. I was ready to move forward. So I get home and I'm ready to go back. My cousin, I didn't tell her what happened yet. I told her the next week, and she was like, none of that makes sense. People get fired for that? And I said, well, in 2025, maybe they do. Maybe in 2025, people get fired just for, and literally the lady was telling me in the DON June, July, whatever her name is, August, she was saying, oh, you was back talking. I said, so pretty much I'm getting fired for back talk. I said, I'm an adult. And then that's when I just end the conversation. When she was talking, I was just like, what is it that I'm here for? Like, just tell me what is it? Am I being written up? Is it somebody assigned or what? I wasn't thinking fired. When they said I was fired, I was like, oh, really? So the real non-Christian me came out. And I was just like, tossing my stuff, threw that thing out the car, and I was done. Then I had 2 other interviews the next week. I ended up staying 1 more month. My kids started school. And I ended up staying 1 more month because I had 2 other interviews, but they didn't call. One of them I didn't get, and the other job, they took a month to call me back. So I was just like, oh, you're good. Never mind. And I ended up moving back to Georgia. So now I'm back. And sometimes God just leads you on side missions. You don't know why. Because spiritually, I had dreams there. And I saw that we were victorious, as I was victorious. I say we as a Christian. I saw that I was victorious, but I ended up back in Georgia. So either this was a side quest to take care of some things for the Lord, or either for one person. Who knows what's the reason. But that whole experience, I was just like, yeah, if I ever go back, it's not going to be for some fake military moving nursing home. If I ever do go back, it'll be to work at a hospital. But after that, I was like, man, maybe God do not want me in the medical field at all anymore. And it's time to move on to the second part of my life and be doing whatever it is that he wants me doing. So I'm still praying about what's the next move for me. I still have a job here that I came and flew to. And I did like once a month. I did a weekend while I was in New York. And so I still have that job, and I'm going to pick up some hours here. But outside of that, I don't know. Let me go ahead and eat my food that I was supposed to eat while I was talking, but it was so hard. But that's basically how I got fired in 2 weeks. I've never in my life I've never had that kind of situation. I'm usually the hardest working. I'm usually the person everybody comes to for help. I'm usually that kind of person who's doing above and beyond. I always got a job. I'm never really without, but that's one thing. When you're in a job and you're shining, you're going to be a problem. People are going to plot against you. They're going to find a reason to get rid of you. There was a job I was working, and I was doing so well, and it was like my favorite job. And I was getting 3 checks because I was a brand ambassador. I was a sales associate. I was like a liaison. I did everything there, and I was making crazy money for my age. I wasn't paying no rent. I had no bills. And literally, my manager found a way to get rid of me. And I found out a good three people left after they found that out, how she did me, because they were upset. It was like, this is nasty. This place is nasty. So I've always have to deal with that at jobs where you outshining people and they really, really don't. Like, you can't be pretty, you can't be smart, you can't be helpful, hardworking. You gotta have a flaw, and I have plenty, but it chokes people up. Me or being around choke people up. It make them real uncomfortable. But that is my story time. I'm back in Georgia, which I don't want to be, but it could be temporary, could be permanent. We don't know. With the way this world is going right now, we have no idea what's going on. My lashes, I did them, and I don't like them. My lace, I did it. I don't like it. It came out 2 different reds, and I don't like that. It's just not, it has not been a good summer. It has not been a good year, to be honest, but God is good, and I'll just be grateful for everything I have. Tis what it is. Hopefully, y'all get encouraged by this video that rejection is protection and redirection. So obviously something else is going to come from this. I really do believe that it's time for me to start ministry, but it's the when, where, how, and I'm ready. To me, I'm ready. I'm ready to have a mentor. I'm ready to have a church, leadership. I don't mind leadership, but I'm not going to be under the leadership of hypocrites, false prophets, liars. Yeah, I'm not just going to be up under anybody. I need to be, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So I am ready for that though. So I'm still in prayer. I'm still seeing where God leads me is where I'll go. And that's it. I didn't vlog not one time. But yeah. All right, y'all. Hopefully y'all having a good week.